And so in layman's terms, or at least how I understand this, is that if we have a base game that was already at 9.00 or lower, and there becomes a patch for it that requires 9.03, then there is very good odds that we're going to be able to use that patch on our 9.00 system. Hey, what is up, everybody? Michael Crump back here again, talking about the latest and the greatest in PlayStation 4 homebrew news and much, much more. So recently, there has been a number of game patches that have come out that are playable on a PS4 9.00, but the patches themselves required 9.03. How is this happening? Does this mean we're going to start getting big titles like Elden Ring or the New Horizon or maybe even Gran Turismo 7? Let's find out. Okay, so for the most part, this started right over here with Backport 893, and they released a tweet, and in this tweet, they had Days Gone, which is really no big deal because Days Gone is a game that came out, I believe, in 2019. It was a Sony title, and more than likely, if you've already been playing PlayStation 4, you've probably already given this game a look already. But what was interesting here was that the patch is listed as 1.81. So if we take a look over on Orbis patches, we can look down in here and it says patch 01.81 is setting at 9.03. But let's go into the patch notes here and it just says bug fixes. But still the fact remains is that this says it is at 9.03. Now if we decide that we want to go ahead and we want to cross-reference that with this tool, which is the PS4 game firmware data, and let's just go back down to Days Gone, you will see that it has this little symbol, and if we go and we try to match that up, if it has a check mark, it just means it's playable. If it has a little X through it, it means it's on 9.04 and that it's unplayable. And then if it uses this kind of little diamond here, that just means it's a backport. So no big deal. Let's just go ahead and let's go into it. And again, we can see that the game itself does match up from the title ID to the date, as well as what would be expected, which would be a 6.51 base. And the game is still active. As you can see, you can go to Sony's store, and here is Days Gone. And yeah, there's just these two editions for it. And again, the release date right here is set at 4/25/2019. So after coming back and looking through some of the comments here, it says, how is this playable? Version 1.81 was update for 3. And basically here is a couple of different tweets that came back. Basically, why are you asking this now and not for Gang Beast and a couple of other games that came out? And at the end of the day, there was a lot of people asking, where does this come from? Don't give me hope. 9.03. So what about Cyberpunk 1.51? It needs 9.03. And so basically at this point, I just decided to download the release and take a look at the files. So there is the Days Gone full game, which states 1.81, but it also has the backport to 5.05, and it's setting in right here around 42 gigabytes. And then there is Days Gone optional version fix, and that is setting right around 7 megabytes. But then more importantly, there was this text file here, and this text file stated, hey, Days Gone CUSA 9175 full game. It says install Days Gone full game 181 and then install my optional version 1.81 version fix. But it states right here that this is not mandatory. It says that it releases with the original keystone. The optional version fix just modifies the version information to 1.81. And then from the XMB, when you select the game and select options information, you'll just see a version filled with 1.81. It does say that this is a remaster update, so it is a full game release. So there is a couple of things that comes to mind for me that I would like to go and verify. Number one, with the base game, can I make sure that it is running 1.81 or it includes previous patches? And then the second thing is obviously running this optional patch and seeing if the version number updates to 1.81. So we'll switch over to the PlayStation 4 and we'll just give this a whirl and see what we can find, and then we'll come back. Okay, so over on the PlayStation 4, I've loaded up PS4 Explorer and I am about to install the full game. So I'm going to go ahead and hit X right here. And it does say that this is a fake package on 1.81. And let's go ahead and get this thing installed. Okay, downloads, and through the power of editing, bam, done. Okay, and we'll swing over to the game and we're going to go options and then scroll all the way down here to information. And it is setting at 1.00. And I did a little bit of digging, so I am aware of a couple of things that has been released since that initial 1.00 game came out. So there's going to be a new game plus, as well as there's a couple of new levels of harder difficulties. Let's set our display here. One other thing I did notice is that there is no version number anywhere inside of the game itself, which is a bit unfortunate. So we'll go ahead here and right off the bat, going into the new game, I am seeing stuff that was included in those later patches. So Hard 2 and Survival 2 was not in the base game that shipped at 1.00. So in order to see a new game plus, I do need to actually select one of these and at least get into the initial game and get a save point, or it will auto save for us. So we're going to run right into the back of this. Survival hint. Hold square to get on your bike. That's a survival hint. Okay. So we'll close out of that. So now we've got an auto-saved game, and there is a new game plus. And new game plus is something that was introduced around in 1.50. So while I don't have the specifics on what exactly came in 1.81, the previous patches are definitely applied to the base game. Let's go ahead and take a look at the update notes here. So we're going to go to update history, and then we can see version 1.81 with the backport, the original keystone, and then the bug fixes. Okay, back into PS4 Explorer here. Let's look at the notes again. So really all that this is going to do is that it's just going to increase the version number from the 1.00 to 1.81. We'll run this patch. Okay, it's been installed. We're going to go back to information. And there, as you can see it is at 1.81. I feel pretty good, at least from what I could test inside of this release. So let's switch back to the PC and let's talk about another game. And so another game that keeps coming up is this one, which is just Tormented Souls. Now, this game actually came out around summer of last year, which was before the 9.03 updates. So if we go to the main page here and let's just scroll down a little bit, there we go. We can validate that this did come out in August 27th of 2021. Now, if we take a look at FRMCHK again, and let's go to Tormented Souls, first off, you see it does have a little X in this database. And keep in mind, this database is a fan-driven database. This isn't like an official database by Sony or anything. I don't know. I just feel the need that I need to tell people that. But what you'll see here is that it says here that this came out in February 25th, 2022. And this says that the firmware required is 9.04. But I can't find this title ID absolutely anywhere. So obviously on things like Orbis patches, if you look at 29199, nothing shows up there. The link to the official PlayStation Store just sends it back over here to the same one that I was looking at just a moment ago, which again came out in 8/27/2021. Now, according to the comments, again, it seems like a lot of people kind of has their hopes up. You know, come on, Elden Ring, tell me when the Elden Ring backport will be released this month. And I'm not exactly sure what the thought process is there in regards to this being a game that required 9.04. I'm not sure if it was all coming from this FRMCHK or what. So what I did was I also downloaded this release and looked to see if there was any sort of notes that came with it. And unfortunately, it did not come with any notes. So it just came with the base game. So we'll also install this one on our PlayStation 4 and just give this a test just to make sure that this is running as well. Okay, so back over on the PlayStation 4, we're going to give Tormented Souls a spin here. And keep in mind that since this game was released around in mid of last year, I don't expect us to have any problems with this, and I really kind of just expect that the website that I mentioned just a little bit before, that 9.04 is incorrect. So let's go ahead and give this one a shot. It says here that it is system 8.50. We're going to press the X button here, add it to our downloads, and there it is, and it is now done. All right, go to the game and we'll go to the options button and then information again, and it just says that this is on level 9. It is 6.72 gigabytes, and it is version 1.00. So not a lot of information there. Let's go ahead now and let's start this game up. And by the way, this game, at least from my initial testing, is very epic, especially if you love the old school survival horror games. Definitely is going to be worth the playthrough. It's on one of my lists that hopefully I'll get to complete this year. Okay, the game looks like it is running just fine. We get a little bit of interactivity here. Okay, so I'm going to have to stop here or I'm going to wind up playing this game. Okay, so the game runs perfectly fine, as you can see here, so not a lot to really talk about. There wasn't any sort of updates or patches that came along with this release. So let's head back over to the PC, and I'll give kind of like a wrap up and a summary of my thoughts so far. And so we've talked about two games, and I'm not sure if we're really any further than what we were at the beginning of this video. I did ask this question, and a respected person from the scene gave me this answer, and I'm just going to read it word for word. It says, apparently updates work differently than the full game. Either the files that aren't encrypted are enough to be able to backport the update, or the key that signs updates is the same as the key for the base game. So if the base game is decrypted, the updates can be too. And so in layman's terms, or at least how I understand this, is that if we have a base game that was already at 9.00 or lower, and there becomes a patch for it that requires 9.03, then there is very good odds that we're going to be able to use that patch on our 9.00 system. So does that mean we could see that Cyberpunk 1.51 coming out? Maybe so. Does that mean we would finally get some of those patches for Dying Light too? Maybe so. But I also know that there is an incredibly rare skill set in order to make those backports. And maybe some of these games that we're seeing here today, maybe these games didn't require as much work or effort as it would be required to do something like a Cyberpunk or a Dying Light 2. Does this mean that we will see games such as The New Horizon, Gran Turismo 7, or Elden Ring? Well, those are all setting on a base of 9.03. So I think that's very unlikely to happen. But that's just my opinions on the subject. If you know something that I don't know, feel free to leave it into the comments below. And so thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Michael, out.